Welcome to today's CIO Watercooler. I'm very lucky to be joined by Rick Barker from Flutter. You're the CIO for UK and Ireland. How are you today?
Very good. Very nice to see you, Dave.
I'll be perfectly honest, before I was introduced to you, I hadn't heard of Flutter. So let's start there. Who are Flutter as an organisation?
Yeah, I think that's probably not that unusual. So Flutter is the group that combined includes some of the brands you will have heard of. Skybet, Paddy Power, Betfair, PokerStars, Ajarabet, Sportsbet out in Australia. You get the sense this is a global organisation. Now, it came together originally with the joining of Paddy Power and Betfair a few years back. And then after that, around probably just over a year ago, we were acquired. The Flutter Group also acquired the Stars Group, which included PokerStars and Skybet, bringing together a first, I think one of the largest, if not the largest, gambling and entertainment organisation.
And in your capacity, you have around 2,000 people below you, 500 or so of which you brought with you from Skybet, right?
Yeah. So my role before this acquisition, I was the CTO of Skybet. I'd been in that role for 2.5 years since the previous acquisition. You can see I'm basically just moving along with all of the different acquisitions until we're all just one massive global company. That happened last year, and then there was a restructure of the now new sized group, creating a set of divisions. So there is a division for Australia, a division running America, a division running UK and Ireland, which is where I sit, and then rest of the world. So when that came together, when we created that division, UK and Ireland includes all of the technology teams that I had in Skybet, which is just over 500 people, and around 1,500 people who came from Paddy Power Betfair. So we've got a bit of an army, really.
So look, prior to this acquisition, you were looking after, as we said, around about 500 people. There are around about 1,000 people co-located in Leeds, right? And now you're looking after an organisation where you've got thousands of people across different locations, and you don't know lots of them. So when you're managing a team of that size and you're getting to know them, how do you get consistency? What does good look like? How do you establish that?
That is a really good question. And given I've been in this role since September, I wish I could say I had the answer. But let me take you back, because I think what does good look like has evolved for me over time. Because a year ago, I would have told you with great authority and with great experience that if you really want agile software delivery to work, you need to be co-located, and that nothing else really pays off. And then in the space of 3 days, we went from taking the whole of Skybet, 1,500 people in 3 locations, to 1,500 people in 1,500 locations. And we didn't really drop a ball. We worked out quite quickly that this myth that you must be co-located for agile to work properly, it doesn't stand up. And so, what I thought good looked like back then, I had the rug pulled out from me under that one, and it makes you start to question whether any of the other things you thought were good are actually true. But I think good you should start with culture, right? So good is not necessarily about good engineering practice or good software choices. It's about giving people the feeling that they're empowered. You solve technology problems first and foremost with people. So how can you create an environment in which people feel they can thrive? That's where I think we set the bar for good. So start to look for, and I think, I don't know if you've read a book by Dan Pink called Drive, but Dan Pink talks about the difference between intrinsic motivations and extrinsic. So extrinsic is you get paid enough to want to go to work, or you do something in order to show that you're doing a good job. Intrinsic are the things that matter to you, and they largely come down into autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Now, I think there's a fourth one at scale around alignment, because autonomy without alignment backfires, and you can have lots of people going off and doing all of their own thing, but if it doesn't actually lead towards one shared goal, then you've got some challenges. So if you want to know what good looks like, I think start with what are the intrinsic motivations, and are you giving people the environment in which they work? So am I giving people enough autonomy? Are they sufficiently trained and developed in order that they can work on their mastery? And do they understand the purpose that they're here to do? And I think that purpose, particularly in a new division, and if you think about it, this is a completely new division. It's not that I'm new to the division. We are bringing together some highly mature, very technical teams who are very good understanding of their own domain. And we're looking for the thing that will give them a new purpose.
Just to jump in, is that purpose and that shared goal key to building momentum? Because look, it can be really difficult, can't it? I just on a much smaller scale, I am in a reasonably new role within my organization, but working with new colleagues, and you have these meetings over video with everybody, and then you switch it off and you're sat on your own in one room.
So my fourth day in my new role, I'm trying to work out how do I introduce myself to the 1,500 people who've not met me, and I gave a Zoom broadcast to them. And I'm not a big fan of broadcast. I think interacting is better, but you can't have an interactive session with 2,000 people. And so you join a call, and there were about just coming up for 2,000 people on it, which is interesting because there's 1,500 who work for me in that bit of the organisation. So 500 snuck in from other places, other bits.
You're obviously very good at broadcasting, despite what you think.
Thank you. I'm practiced after a year of sitting here. But I basically talked to the corner of my room for an hour. And there was a point where I thought, I don't really know if I'm even online, because you don't have any feedback. You don't have the visual. When it's a number that large, you don't have the visual of people's faces. You just talk to the corner of your room. So there is an element of, well, I've just talked to myself for an hour. I hope that's been useful to somebody. But that was my start, right? So if you've got to build momentum, then you have to start with, what are my values, I think? Because I can't tell you what I think we should do with the organization because I don't know it. But I can tell you what I value in terms of autonomy, mastery, and purpose. I can tell you I think transparency is good. I can tell you I want to create cultures of curiosity. And I can tell you that the thing we're going to go after is what will make us greater than the sum of our parts. Because what's the point of a division if not to find ways to accelerate either your learning or your capability or velocity? So what are the things that will make us greater? And that's what we've gone after so far. Find them, attach to them, identify them, start people talking.
Just as a one quick final question, because we're beginning to run short on time. You mentioned that you had moved from being a CTO to a CIO. The role of the CIO seems to be constantly evolving. Obviously, this is the CIO water cooler and a CIO community. How do you compare the two roles? Have you seen a difference?
I can tell you it was actually a choice. So I was originally offered the CTO title. And because I have technology, I have an MD of technology for Paddy Power, I have an MD of technology for Betfair, MD of technology for Sky Bet. So, I have roles that look after the technology specific to our products. And I thought if I'm the CTO and they are CTOs or MDs of tech, it gets a little confusing as to what the line of delineation is. So I said, well, look, if I'm responsible for the flow of information across the division and the development of people and talent mobility within our division and managing our risk on whatever level we've got to manage our technology risk, then those people in their brand roles are responsible for the technology that touches the customer. And so I tried to make a distinction between whether you're interested in the flow of information and the people inside from the technology solutions that customers. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. But like you, Dave, I have not seen a single definition that writes it down well. We're all playing with job titles here that you can be a CTO or a CIO of a one-man band in your bedroom. You can be the CTO and CIO of an organization the size of the one I'm in, or you can be in one 100 times bigger. The roles differ, the job title doesn't. So I think it's about how you define it and what you want to do with it.
Look, fascinating insight, obviously a huge challenge. I hope you get to a point soon where you do actually get to meet people and it doesn't feel like you're just talking to yourself. But good luck bringing that organization together. And Rik, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this.
And look, if you've enjoyed this chat, there are plenty more to explore. So please stay, have a look around the website and have a look at our other episodes or other CIO Water Cooler TV.